once you've hired them, what is the role of your attorney if you're a seller of a property?
Well, the seller's attorney is the attorney who's actually going to draw up the contract. So the first thing that I think is important is sitting down with the client to go over all the items of personal property, because generally the broker will have drawn up a memo of sale, and the memo of sale will mention everything that's included in the sale in personal property and what's excluded. And lots of times between the time the memo is drawn up and when the buyer actually signs, the seller and the buyer actually sign the contract, they've changed their mind about what they want to include in the sale or what they want to take with them. And I mean, I've had cases where $1 million home that when they got to the closing, they had a huge fight for an hour over a $100 item that had sentimental value to the seller, and that could have been avoided if everyone sat down at the contract signing or before and made sure everyone was on the same agreement on what's included and what's excluded.
I'm selling my home. I come to you and I say, I want you to represent me to sell my home. What documents do I bring to your office before you can move forward? Are you going to ask me for some things?
Yeah, definitely. The seller should have a deed to the property from when he originally bought the property. He should hopefully have a survey of the property, which will show the dimensions. And he may have that title report that we talked about, or if not the title report, the actual title policy that he was given at the closing. And then what the attorney can do is he can check the description that's on that deed against the boundaries that are on that survey print, if there's a survey, and also the description that's in the title policy. And he may discover something like that part of the property had been sold off in the last 20 years while the seller was owning it. So then he can use that survey to figure out the dimensions of the current property so that this description's done properly in the contract.
You mentioned the building department files in each community. Do the laws vary?
Yeah, they do unfortunately vary. There's a lot of local technicalities. For example, if you're selling a house in Mamaroneck, you have to have what's called a discharge compliance certificate. And what that's about is the town got upset about a lot of people that would have illegal hookups for drainage from their house out to the street or out into the sewer. So now you have to have a licensed plumber come to your home when you have it on the market, inspect it to make sure there aren't any illegal hookups or drainages, and then the plumber on his letterhead will write a letter to the town certifying that the house is in compliance.
Talk about the preparation of a house for closing.
Well, just before the closing, the contract has a clause generally that it has to be delivered vacant and broom clean. So the seller has to make sure that when that closing date arrives that they've been able to get everything out by that time and put the house in a broom clean condition. Sometimes they know in advance that they can't get out by the date that was agreed to for the closing. So what's done there is called a possession agreement. That can be drawn up even at the time of the contract's signing if both parties are aware of what's going to happen down the road. And the way a possession agreement works is that a certain amount of money is held back by the seller's attorney in escrow until the seller actually vacates a certain number of days after the closing. And it protects the buyer. It's written right into the possession agreement that they'll have another right to inspect at the time they take possession. There's a per diem figure that's given so that the buyer's costs are covered, their mortgage interest, their homeowner's insurance.
What, $300 a day or something?
Yeah, well, it can be a lot more than that. Whatever covers the interest.
Helps them to hear them get out. Huh?
Right, exactly. And there's a penalty if they don't get out.